Have you all heard Cesar Mauricio or anybody about others attending?
No, sorry, I don't know who else is coming.
Yeah, same.
Cool. So what is it, about 10 after? If guess we could give it 1 minute. Just see if anyone shows up. Trying to look in Slack. I don't think there are any messages though. Yeah, I don't see anything. Well, at least we got some front end and some back end. So hopefully, I don't know. Mauricio, is there much back end that's gone on that you don't know about? Or do you think you're pretty aware of everything?
Yeah, I think I'm aware of all we have been doing. Well, I didn't check everything, but yesterday we meet with Alejandra to do some stuff. So
Right
I
on.
can talk about that.
Yeah, and I guess, do you think much has happened with Abu Bakr in terms of, I don't know, authentication or whatever he's been working on?
Well, we have a kind of a private chat like we had with you and Cesar.
Yeah.
So I can check that and tell you.
Cool. Hey, what's up, Mackenzie?
Hello, I'm just trying to get my mic here and
Cool. Yeah, just as a heads up, you maybe remember Frank wasn't gonna be here. Dan's at the emergency vet, and so he's gonna have to be working through that, and gave us a little bit of direction and kind of what to do. So yeah, he was basically saying, for a stand-up, we each give a 5 or 10 minute update on what we've done and any blockers or things we were supposed to have gotten done or worked on. And what else was it, yo? Was it what we plan to work on?
I mean, isn't all that on Jira?
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to be given updates if things haven't gotten done. And I think because we didn't have an official sprint, like deadlines for our tasks, then, it also is less clear.
All good.
So yeah, you put in the chat there what you've done, blockers, and anything that you need for the next
Oh, in the
sprint
chat.
if it isn't on Jira.
What do they mean by blockers? Like stuff we can't do?
I think things that got in the way of things we were trying to do or supposed to do.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's supposed to be pretty brief from what he was saying. Does anybody, well, and anything you need for the next sprint if it isn't on Jira? And no need to say much now, Dan. Frank just said that you might set a sprint for us today. He would sound like he wasn't quite sure.
Is anyone going to take notes? Have we designated that yet?
Yeah, I can do it, I suppose. Since me and Alejandro were supposed to be splitting that.
Okay.
Maybe if we just clarify the last piece here. So I guess maybe when Dan gets that back on or after, this meeting, maybe we'll hear about any kind of sprint deadlines, and how that might work out. Just trying to think about this last item in his list. Anything you need for the next sprint that isn't on Jira. So I guess we just well, can share about that. Does anybody want to go first? Okay. Yes, we will start a sprint today. I'll go over everything once I'm out. Just go over anything you've completed with each other so everyone knows about what's done. Sprint will be 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah, I got you, Mackenzie. I think we just want to say stuff out loud. So do you want to go first since you started, or does anyone else want to go first? What we
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to write in the chat about, but anyway, yeah, was it just coding logic in general? I need, I cannot do any unless it's kind of like design, or like CSS, something like that. I'm completely retarded with coding and how to think about what I'm supposed to do that has to do with anything with coding, even up to this point in my whatever programming education. So yeah.
Can you clarify what you were trying to get done, and what coding logic is blocking specifically?
Oh yeah, so Caesar tasked me with win loss. I don't know how to think about that.
What
And
is win loss? What do you mean win loss?
Like games won, games lost. And when I gotta come out with code for that, there's no amount of Googling that will get me to ask the right question, because most of the time I don't know how to ask the question. Therefore, I'm completely blocked by code.
Is it
one or whatever?
Is it one of these specific items?
It says profile page. On the whatever you call it, the epic.
This one, as a user, I want to see my win and loss record in my profile page.
Yeah, but Caesar gave me a hint the other night to use state, and it's like, wow, I would never thought to use state, but I'll go with that. I'll put that in the code.
Yeah, so really quick, just on that, I'm listening, guys. Won't have to bet. If you're doing a win loss, you would store it in state. But if it's a user's profile, that means it also has to go in the database, because when they log in, it should pull that from the database and update their state, right?
Yeah, sure. I just would never know to use state in general, period.
Yeah. And Mac, like if you want to meet up sometime this week, after hopefully my animal crisis calms down a little bit.
Your animal crisis.
For helping you with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm at the emergency vet. That's why I'm not like talking.
Oh, I see. Right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Sorry. Okay, good. Right on.
Yeah, I stuck at maybe the simplest place to put some of those notes would be in the actual task. So I just put that in the task. It sounded like some part of it will need to go in state, I suppose, as it changes.
Well, I already did it. Like, I mean, I already injected that code, the code suggestion from Caesar. I just need to know what to do with win loss itself. I don't know if I make sense.
Well, I would say first, like when the game ends, something should happen, right? Like a function. And so when that game ends, that function would store whatever data per user. Because if we're having like, I can't remember, are we having non-logged in users play, or is everyone logging in?
Both.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So it would check to see if someone's logged in. If they are logged in, then it would make the API call to logged in users and store their win losses. Otherwise, for non-logged in users, you could store it in local storage or session storage, depending on how you want it designed. You know what I mean? So you would need a function to access either local or session storage for non-logged in users. Logged in users, the perk would be that they could track win losses over their entire history, right? So that has to go in the database. So that's just another field in the database. Just like
Oh,
you have
okay.
username, password, and then I would have one that's like an object win loss.
Okay, because Abu had the task of doing the admin for win losses, and I thought I had to pair up with him or something.
Sounds,
I mean, they can, like a backend person can just make the API route. You know, you don't necessarily have to pair up with them, but if you want to, you can. Like pair coding is always good. So you just may be making a front end endpoint when the game is over to fire off an API call, a post request, right? Or a patch request if you're updating user data, right? So when you make that patch request, you update the user's win loss. So you would like the backend people would query user by ID, and then they would take the data you sent them, and then they would add the win loss to whatever the current data is.
Actually, I am the one in charge of keeping track of the wins and losses in the backend as an admin, the BP16. Yeah, I was just thinking about it. I honestly I didn't start coding that, but I just wanted to ask you like what we will consider a win and what we'll consider a lose. I'm guessing that like we say like the around is like just when we start playing, right? Like you go into the room and you wait for have at least 3 players, and then the game starts. And then you have the first word. And if you guess that's a win, or it's kind of, oh, we have to end all the rounds. Like if we have the 3 people, we have the 3 words, and we go around that 3 words, and then that will count like a win.
that's a good question.
Yeah, so I guess it just kind of comes down to gameplay. Like depending on how you want to build it, because if you want to just track it like during the game, you could track rounds. If you want to store it on like where a user logs in and can see how many rounds they've won, then I would do it by round. If you want to do it by game, I mean, obviously people could play shorter games to kind of, you know, manipulate numbers, but that's not really a big deal for the scope of this project. So yeah, however you guys want to build it, if you want to track rounds won, that's pretty straightforward, I think. And you can do,
That's a good
I don't
point.
even know if you need to do rounds lost, because I mean, statistically speaking, you should probably lose more rounds than you win. And then like everyone would kind of have a negative record,
Right.
you know? So you could
Yeah.
track just rounds won.
That
And
seems
for
good.
implementing it, it'd be a lot easier. It'd just be a integer, right?
And then you wouldn't even have to store anything necessarily for the temporary players without a username. I guess, well, if we start to be able to allow people to play multiple rounds, then I guess you would.
Well, you could still,
Otherwise-
you could just throw it into local storage, right? Local storage is easy. So it's local storage.set, and then whatever you want to set in there, and local storage.get. Right?
Mhm.
So you're going to check if people are logged in anyway, because to have a profile page, you have to be logged in, right? I believe that's how this is laid out. Is that correct? Like
someone else-
normally you have to have a login to have a profile, right? Excuse me, sorry. So like non-logged in users would just have local storage, and local storage would just like local storage.get rounds won, and then you just put that into their non-logged in state. So the logic flow is kind of, you check to see if a user's logged in or not. And depending on if they're logged in or not, you do 2 different things. Like if they're not logged in, you just use local storage. If they are logged in, you make API calls to the database and get that user's profile information. So we can definitely go over this way more in depth. Once I'm out of the vet, I can kind of show you guys because I'm like 15 minutes from home. And we're about halfway through probably the vet consultation. And I'll jump on and help you guys. But just that's going to be the workflow. Like you need to know if people are logged in or not. And if you're showing the profile to non-logged in people, what are you displaying to them? And if you're going to do that, you should probably store it in local storage. Does everyone understand the difference between local and session storage?
Mhm.
Yes.
Session versus
It-
local.
Yeah.
basically.
Okay, so local storage makes the most sense for a game for anonymous users, because then when they return, they could have like their win rounds 1 could still persist.
Hmm.
At least as long as they're on their same browser, right?
Let's say
Right.
cookies, basically.
Well, it's just local storage, right? So, I mean,
So
local
that's-
storage just
that's
exists in your
different.
browser. Like if you look at your Google Chrome tab, you can look at what's in your local storage right now.
Oh, okay.
You know, and like when we log into apps, you know, that token that we return, that stores in local storage. That's why when you use different devices and stuff, you have to relog into things.
Sure.
So yeah, so you're gonna need to make, basically you use a React, like ternary to check, like you'll have a React state called logged in. It's a Boolean. And if someone's not logged in, you'll return a certain JSX chunk. If they are logged in, you'll return a different JSX chunk. That's typically how you do it, you know? Does that make any sense or is this confusing everyone?
For me, it's clear.
Well, it seems like
Okay.
Mackenzie is the one who's
Same.
got to understand it, because I put these notes in here, though. It seemed like y'all were gonna probably meet up too.
Yeah, I will absolutely meet up with Mackenzie and we can walk through it together. I'll help him. So,
But you see, Mackenzie, I put these notes in here for a starter at least.
Yeah.
all right, John. Give me a little bit, guys. I'll jump back on in a little bit.
Sure.
Hey, did y'all, I was gonna ask Dan, but I'll ask him in a sec, I guess. In case y'all didn't catch it, but did he say setting storage and referring to database?
He
Wait.
said session storage.
Oh yeah, session.
I don't even know what that is. Isn't that like a server?
I think he was talking about the server. Server versus local is what I understood him to be talking about. But I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think it was that.
Okay. So is this good for you, Mackenzie? What you've done, blockers, and anything you need for the next sprint if it isn't on Jira?
Yeah, when login makes a post or patch request for API to call a customer, I'm gonna need Dan to translate that line to me. Something may need to go in state, maybe just for login now. Can stomp store temp. Yeah, all that needs to be translated into layman English for me.
Yeah, well, that's not, I think what, yeah, sounds like that's what'll happen later.
Gotcha.
Writing down what I could,
I don't understand, now that I think about it some more, why we're even gonna track it in local storage if they're. I guess if they're like anonymous players, right? I guess like it'd be
Yes.
nice, but
I think that gets
guess
to,
is there,
oh, sorry, finish, Caesar, my bad.
that's pretty much it, yeah, I was just gonna end with like, since they're anonymous, then like. We're just using the username, I think, at this point, but. Okay, yeah, just thinking out loud, I suppose.
Yeah,
What
it
were you gonna
seems,
say, Brendan?
it seems like it gets this question for BP16 that Mao was talking about, what's considered a win, and I guess the related thing of what we're gonna track wins, who we're gonna track wins for. Because I mean, I was thinking that if we didn't have multiple rounds, all you have to do is say at the end of a round if someone won or not. And that could apply to people who are logged in or not. And if they're logged in, they could store it and just score by rounds. maybe an initial question is, do we want to consider winning a round, or what do you all think?
I would say no,
I think-
because, sorry, Mackenzie, you wanna say something
No, no.
or something?
No, that was
Someone?
me.
Oh, sorry,
Go
go ahead,
ahead,
say
Bob.
something.
I could see you were saying it's all right.
Okay, so I was saying that, like, when we are in a round, there's someone who is not playing, and that round will not count like a win or a lose for that person, or actually might count like a lose. So it's kind of confusing. That I would say it's better if we play the number of rounds of the number of people we have, and then we see who have the higher score, and that will count like a win. It will
Yeah,
be
that's actually how I was thinking about it. I guess we're not using the same definition for rounds necessarily, or it would help me maybe if we clarified. I guess it's because even in what you were suggesting in Slack, Mauricio, I thought you were saying that we want the option for people to do another round and that only the host could do that. Did you mean essentially like another game? Like,
no, it was more like, okay, we start with the first word, and now we want to go to the next word. That's a round. That's we are considering like a round right now. Like number of people, it's number of rounds, and it's the kind of the small round. The big rounds, we're gonna put it like that way, or maybe we could call it a cycle. It's kind of will be considered like everyone have the same number of chances to play that everyone. Like we have 3 players, so we had the chance at least to guess twice, because the third one would be your own word.
sure.
So that's the kind of the big round, or a cycle, or I don't know which other English word we could use.
Yeah, well, so when you were asking in Slack for us to have a button for the host to push for the next round, how were you? You were
was-
talking about it in the way you just described, that within the same cycle.
I know I was talking for the small round, like next word. We have guessed one word, and there were someone waiting. So we need to go to the next word. That's for next round we were talking about. I understand now why you were saying like, oh, everyone should have the chance.
So maybe we could just define a couple words real quick and share them with the group, just so we can not get tripped up on them. So do we want to say, I feel like I need that tool to draw or something. I haven't really used that. Okay, so here we go. Can we? Is that gonna work? Okay. So like, if this is, let's say, player 1, player 2, player 3, whatever. Let's say there's 4 players, and everybody. So I guess there's 2 different things. Maybe I'm not drawing it in the most useful way, but y'all can help me out to what would be useful to draw. But I guess if, let's say this, okay, here we go. Let's say player 1 provided the word and everybody provides a guess. So we got a word for that, and then there's like a larger cycle outside of that where everybody has provided their word and everybody has guessed. So maybe a word here, and then a bigger word for this is just like some common language. Do you guys have, does that make sense? And do you guys think
Yeah.
that is a good idea?
Mhm.
So were you saying we could call this a round and this a cycle?
Yeah, that would be my option, because Frank, when we were talking with Frank about the number of rounds, we were talking about the small one.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, well, I think I also said that I thought this could be called a turn and this could be called a round. But I am not sure, because there's almost like, is it true that there's almost like a third thing? Because if, sorry, I haven't used this a lot, so let me try to. Are we saying that this group of four, so this number one provides their word, and then, and there's a name for that. And then all four have provided their words and all four have guessed. And so then there's a word for that. But then they can have the option to keep playing. And then there's got to be almost like all of this will happen. I'm just going to make this a circle. All of that's going to happen potentially multiple more times. And so we need a name for that too, probably, huh? Would this be like their game? And then let's say if we use your language, Mauricio, this would be a game. They would play another game. No, I guess maybe we don't need a word for that. I'm getting a little tripped up, but let me put in some potential language that you said. So if this was a cycle and this was a round, how do people feel about that?
I think I'm okay with the terminology round and cycle.
Okay.
So just to like clarify, is a round essentially every single time the timer ends?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
So this is when timer ends. And then this down here is when all have provided their word. Well, this is
It
also,
would be, I think would be more clear when we have guessed everybody's words.
when all have guessed everyone's words.
Right.
Okay, of course I drew this in a way that it's going to be hard to like see it now. But maybe I can just take a little screenshot or something. Any other suggestions with this?
Yeah, just another question. And so then each win will be at the end of each round, right? Whichever player has the highest score at the end of each round is going to be considered a win. It's not tied to the cycle. Is that right?
I was thinking tied it to the cycle, honestly.
The cycle. Okay, so whichever player has the most points at the end of all the rounds that are played, then that's who gets the win. Okay.
That's the option which one I would prefer to go, but I know I'm not the only one, so I'm open also to see if all the rest would prefer the other option.
Is there a way to like draw this so we can have it saved for the future? I don't know if there's something like that in Jira. I guess there's like a, what do they call it in Google? I guess there's a drawing tool, and then there's also some other thing, a Jamboard.
If you click on share screen, you will have a board or something like that in Zoom. I mean, that you
Oh, I
have.
can, what will it let me do? Oh,
There's
I see, save as PNG. Oh, okay, that's helpful. Let me do that. Oh, good. I don't know if that's exactly what you meant, but it worked.
yeah, that's good.
Oh, it shows the whole screen, but whatever. Um, okay, well, so sorry to distract from Caesar's question, but do you mind saying again what you were asking about, Caesar?
Yeah, I was just kind of clarifying what the win is defined as, but it sounds like we're considering making the end of each cycle a win, whichever player has the most points in all the rounds that they played, whether it's 1 or 10 rounds. For that cycle, there's only going to be one winner.
Okay. Easier to save like this. Sorry, do you, where's a good place to kind of document what you're saying, Caesar, so we can have it for others too? Maybe you can write something here. I'm just was trying to have a blank screen so we could see what I drew, and so when I save it, it's a little easier to see.
Nice. I think it could be added to the what's it called? The spreadsheet,
Yeah,
full
okay.
stack notes.
Can you put in the chat just what you said and I can put it in here or something? I just was too distracted with drawing shit. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I'll drop it in chat.
And then I'll get a notes section here so we can have that to work on. So this is 8. And so we're saying one thing is defining terms and decided that a round is each time. Now, let's see. I mean, each time that whenever timer ends to guess one person's word, right? And then a cycle is when all have guessed everyone's word. One time, I suppose. So a cycle is made up of rounds. That sound inaccurate to you all? Sorry, I don't mean to get us too distracted with this. I'm just trying to say this one more time. Sorry. Then I'll be done. We can move on. Save. Okay. Yeah, I'm just grabbing what you put in the chat, Caesar.
Cool. Sounds good.
So trying to stop. There we go, the annotation. Sorry, you all, I think I'm not leading us through this in the quickest way.
I think we can keep doing what Dan's asked us, like keep sharing what you have doing, your blockers, and
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll just put this last thing that Caesar said in the notes here. So a win is given to the player with the most points at the end of a cycle, regardless of how many rounds are played. Wait, wouldn't that be end of all the cycles? Then, Caesar?
that would be too long to count like a win because it could be never ending.
Oh, yeah, so
Yeah,
it'd be at the end of a cycle. One cycle.
end of one cycle. Cause it, yeah, so we'd take out this part of regardless of how many rounds then, right?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Okay. But thanks, you all. Somebody want to go next with the stand up bit? I guess I can go. But I've been talking a lot, so I prefer someone else goes.
I can go. So I can talk a little bit what we did with Alejandro. I just met with him last night, and we were trying to connect the front end with the Mongo server, like trying to store the username and the password. So the blocker was like, we never have done this with React. We were just doing it with regular JavaScript. But I think it's Vanilla JavaScript. We did that for the project from for our last projects, both of us. But last night we were trying to figure out how this works, and we ended up making something that we're not sure if it's perfect, but it works. We can use the front end you have done, guys, like the landing page where you go to you don't have an account, create an account, and we can sort users with passwords. And yeah, that's what we have accomplished. From my side, that was more Alejandro's part, by the way. In my part, I was working about how to start the next round, and we were trying to work that together with Brendan, or maybe we don't know, maybe Cesar is gonna do it. We didn't decide that. Brendan said about like he gonna try to work on this, but I did the backend idea of this, trying to like think it's better just to have one person who can start the game and do the next round button. So we just have one person who do this, and we're gonna call it host. That's something I suggested. So the host is who can start the game once the minimum of 3 players have given the word, and also when we have the maximum of 10 players, and when everyone have gave the word, then the start button, it's like enable. If not everyone has given the word or we have less than 3 players, the start game, it's disabled. And yeah, the same idea for the next round. Just when everyone's has guessed the word, we have the option to do next round. This also should be connected with the timer, but we have not decided that yet. And that would be a next step, maybe to also to add this.
Sorry, Mao, just to make sure I'm getting down just the basics. That does help clarify, actually. So you all were talking in Slack about the host being able to do a next round, not a next cycle.
Yes, next round.
Okay, okay.
And yeah, the blockers right now, it's like we have decided to try to divide this the front end and the back end. From my part, not touching nothing from the front end, and it's kind of difficult for me to see if it's working my back end or if I need to do something else. So that was something I want to ask you, Brendan. I'm not totally sure if you are the one who is in charge of doing the front end for this part, or maybe you're working together with Cesar.
Yeah, I don't think we fully decided. I had floated that I was up for trying, and Caesar was gonna offered to meet with me yesterday, but I wasn't able to meet yesterday. And so I was gonna work on it today. At least try to. I think if you wanted to, I don't know your timing this weekend, Mauricio. Actually, this is something, maybe a quick clarification on this blocker of yours. So if one of the blockers is, it sounds like is figuring out whether or how to work with front end, to split work with front end. If I hear you right, that's one of the potential blockers. And so one question related to that I think came up for me and Caesar's, are we remembering right that you work 1 week and are off 1 week?
Yeah, that's right. So
Okay.
I started last Tuesday and I will keep working until next Tuesday. So right now it's kind of my midnight because I should be sleeping. But
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
we can meet, like I said, well, we can say I have a little bit more of time. So I could meet after 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. on Central Time and after
Central
midnight.
time?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were on Pacific time.
It's Central Time.
Oh, you're on Central time, okay. Can meet between, you're talking about tonight?
Yeah, today and tomorrow I can meet between 7 and 9. And
Okay,
also after midnight.
okay. Yeah, I think what none of us are probably gonna be able to do after midnight. It's let's see, that's 8 and 10 Eastern. So 5 and 7 Pacific. Okay.
It's not that I'm trying, by the way, to blame you or nothing. It's just kind of I'm not sure if my code is really working or not until I have a front end to connect, like front end and back end, and see, oh, it's working my back end, because otherwise it's kind of just a guessing that I have the code. I think it would work, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that makes
Really
sense.
quick, I'm like on a short break. So you have like backend code that you're not sure is working with the front end. Is it like API calls or what is it exactly
It's sockets. So
with the
uh,
stuff in the socket? Okay.
yeah,
And you
I
guys
decided.
are scheduling pair coding?
Well, we were talking about whether we would be able to, because Mauricio has 1 week when he's really crazy and can't pair code as much with our
Yeah.
time schedules, and then he's off for a week, and he probably could, it sounds like, those weeks.
Okay. If
So
you
he-
guys need to for the sprints, you can schedule like different tasks on the weeks where he's working and then hammer the stuff that require pair coding during his weeks off, if that makes it easier.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? It's like try to work on something that might not require each other when he's at work. If that
Yeah.
helps. Because I think we have a lot that we can work on the app. And I know I've been kind of in and out on this, but I'll have like the entire next hour free as well. And then I'm free tomorrow, like afternoon. So if any of you want to meet and go over stuff, I'll be much more active over the next week. So,
No, man, you got
and we'll get these sprints done.
It's cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Well, it might be it sounds like we might be able to work through it for
sweet.
this period, because he's off coming Tuesday, but you're saying I could
Yeah.
meet some of these times today or tomorrow, Mauricio.
Yeah, today sounds great.
Yeah, if you're sure that that's not gonna, be too much for you.
It's perfect.
Okay.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
Brent, sorry.
You're good.
Hey,
I
real
was
quick,
ask-
guys, is there anything I missed that you have questions for me about before I go back into the vet place? They're running some tests really quick.
I don't think so.
You guys cruising along?
I think we're doing all right. You right, guys?
Cool.
Yeah, so far so good, Dan.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for stepping up, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay,
And
so
Brennan, something I wanted to ask you is if you had the chance to end up with the what's called last Saturday, Frank asked us to do the routes and components and kind of merge it with the front end we had for sockets.
mhm.
Did you have the chance to finish with that?
Yeah, well, I can give my report if you want. Do you want me to just do it like that? It's because the answer is sort of. But yeah, I can go ahead and do mine if you want. Sorry, I don't even know what's useful to write down. You all, I'm trying to be semi useful with notes. I didn't get yours down, Mackenzie, but we can add it. So yeah, my main task that I was trying to work on is around the lobby screen. And I guess it's essentially both of these. Want a user to see a lobby screen to be able to see existing games or create a new one. And then I want to join an existing group of users. So, I'm basically trying to work on both of those together. And it's really just, as put in the comments, that Mauricio had already built some of this code in the sockets version of the front end, and I've just been trying to adapt it. And so basically I have it partially working, where this is the game lobby. And actually, I just played around with putting this up here, Caesar. We may not need it. That's a different conversation. But I have it set up so the routes sort of work. I mean, right now they'll bring you to the game room. So that simple thing is there. It seemed to work earlier where, let me see. Yeah, some parts of it are working and some aren't. And so I put a what am I trying to say? I did a PR pull request and made a couple of comments to clarify the parts that weren't working. One part that's not working is I need to put the get it so you can join other games still. And then I'm unclear if I'm got it. So what maybe one of the blockers is one blocker is just time, having enough time to finish, and the other blocker is I'm not sure if my onload event is working. I know Caesar had offered to meet for 15 or 20 minutes, but that it didn't work the time he offered to walk through. I think Caesar, you might be able to say, but I think sounds like when you and I can get a few minutes, maybe we can walk through whatever you wanted to walk through with my PR. There's some modest conflicts. It says down here, resolve conflicts. These are really just comments that aren't, so those aren't really significant conflicts. Yes.
Okay.
So
Cool,
does
yeah, I'm
that-
happy to go over
Yeah.
that later. But yeah, I was just a little bit unclear about what you meant by the onload there, but yeah, I think it's something we can maybe like go over really quickly after the meeting.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess on my end, one of the blockers I had was definitely time this week. Seemed like a lot of our schedules didn't really line up. And so, I try and stay kind of present through Slack, just help through there, like answer a few questions. But on my end, yeah, I do apologize. I don't have anything to show as far as like code goes. But I should have a lot more availability here after 9 o'clock tonight. So apologize about that, everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've kind of carried us on the front end, for the most part, so. Let's see, I'm sure we all understand. Mauricio, did you have, well, so I guess what was the other part of Dan's prompt? What we need for the next sprint if it isn't in. How the hell do you say this? Jira? I guess it's Jira, right?
Sure, neither. Jira. We
Yeah.
understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, cool. Sounds like are there any other needs we didn't mention that aren't already in here?
Not yet, I think so. For my part,
Cool.
Yeah,
Not for you either, Susan.
no, yeah, nothing on my end either.
I think we put most of your stuff in here, Mackenzie. Mauricio, did you have follow-up questions? Because you were asking me something about mine and I don't know if I fully answered.
yeah, I just want to know where we are on the routes, but because that's also helpful to kind of test some stuff in the back end. Yeah, just that it was useful to see what you did.
Okay.
We also can work with me tonight if you want in routes and server, and we can do it also between the three of us or everyone else who wants to meet up tonight. And yeah, try to push about the routes and the merging, and also about the other thing about the rounds.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I did enjoy, I'm do appreciate, Mauricio, that you're open to testing out this whole thing of splitting up some of the front end and back end to allow at least some of us some more practice, but definitely open to continuing to communicate about if it's working or not, if it's realistic or not. I know we don't have much time to finish this whole practicum. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the main thing of this this practicum is try to learn about how to work together. So it would be great if we'd end up having the game working in some way, but also it's fine. Like if we use more the time to learn how to do this. So I think your suggestion is really good. Try to work together.
yeah, appreciate it, man. Some of my background is like community organizing, and one of our things that I might suggest that's useful here is to ask at the end of a meeting or near the end, like, is there anything that we can do better next time? Just in term, because this is our first time really trying Dan's point about a stand-up, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I think I probably let us wander a little bit, because he was suggesting like 5 or 10 minutes per person. I guess maybe that would be something to work on. But any reflections on what we might do different next time in terms of maybe the stand-up, especially the kind of updates and blockers, etc.
I think that we have been doing a little bit better because like right now we have been doing 1 hour and looks like we're gonna finish, but normally it's kind of by this time we're just starting to do the meeting. So I think we are doing better now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
we're moving along pretty well. What was your guys' question about stand-ups? I heard something about that.
Well, I was just saying to the group, like maybe we could reflect on how we did with this, if there's anything we wanted to do differently with this
Oh, okay.
stand-ups next time. But
You're
I
just
think my main.
concluding.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You're just like basically wrapping up.
Yeah, sort of. I was
Cool.
just have found that a good question with meetings in general. Like to reflect at the end, what could we do better next time?
Yeah. Yep. So just to brush up on stand-ups really quick, they are meant to be like fairly fast.
Yeah.
And that is very common. So it's kind of like a roll call meeting, and you're just saying, here's what I did, here's the blockers I encountered, here's what I'm working on or how I'll overcome that blocker. And then if you do hit a blocker, usually you will turn to like a senior or a team member, right? So if there's any of those blockers that you guys can't figure out, that is what I am definitely for, and I believe Frank is more than willing to help with those as well. I'm kind of letting him act like do like the whole architecture of the app, because you don't want two architects like messing stuff up. But I am more than happy to act like whenever you guys need help working through a blocker. So I think you did really well.
Yeah, thanks, man. I was just gonna ask, how does that part not usually get hung up and start taking more time than is desired? The blocker part, like, how does that not turn into long conversations?
You usually keep stuff like, so you should work on small stuff, right? So you're working on small things at a time. So usually you shouldn't have a blocker on every task you're doing in a week. And when you have the blocker, you try to resolve it when you have the blocker. If it's something that is more massive, like if you're scaling up an app or something, you might run into massive blockers that then become their own entire, maybe even an epic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you could hit a blocker like that, like we don't have enough servers for this. How are we going to scale this? How are we going to handle data? Are we adding a queue to our database, right? So your blockers are more small because this is a learning environment, and you guys can help each other with the blockers. So just don't, like, if it's taking a lot of time, break it into parts, because whatever you're working on is probably too big. So like if you're hitting a multiple thing like a blocker, other than like a scheduling conflict, like you guys had that scheduling conflict, that's a blocker that's small. You just have to figure it out. Right. So that one could take several days just in when you have free time to meet up. But normally a blocker would be like the server's down or something that I'm trying to connect to. The API is not working, or I can't figure out this like part of code. Like maybe this one function is just not doing what I want it to do. It's not passing tests, or it's giving me different data than I think it should be, you know, and then you'll troubleshoot that. So with that stuff, I would just reach out to another person that's either on the front end or back end, or if you guys can't figure it out, reach out to me, send me a DM on Slack. I love debugging code. It's what I do most of the time because I also teach a Node class. So
Nice.
like just DM me. Like anytime you guys have something that's just like a headache, I won't get back to you immediately, but I will get back to you as soon as I read it. So that's
Yeah.
how. And then in the stand-up, you don't want to take too much time on the blockers. You just kind of want to identify them.
Yeah, maybe something I was about to say. It's like today, our mistake was start talking about how to solve some blockings. Maybe it would be better like if we just say, okay, this is my blocker, and we wait until the end. I don't say it was bad to talk about like what's around, what's a cycle. It was really good, but maybe it's better to push it at the end. Like, okay, this is something we need to discuss all together. But first, everyone gives their report, and at the end, we start talking about whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the best way too, because you need to know what other blockers you encountered to triage them. Like you might think your blocker is the most important because you haven't heard anyone else's blocker. You know, like maybe you can't get the profile page to display correctly, but someone else can't get users to even log in correctly. Just as a simple example, right? Like obviously you have to have users to be able to log in before you even start working on the profile page blocker.
That makes
Right.
sense.
So yeah, so I think you're onto it. Like just identify the blockers, and then you can spend the end of the meeting, because you can also like sometimes you'll figure it out just watching other people talk about what they've done. Like you'll be like, oh, I typed that API wrong.
Yeah.
Like that's my problem. It's something stupid. I like forgot one letter. You know?
Right.
So
That's like a good approach. So what name everyone does their little part of the stand up, and then talk about some of the blockers at least at the end. And
yeah. I mean, do your blocker in your stand up, like say I encountered these blockers, just don't get into the details of it.
yeah,
Until
I mean,
the
like
end.
trying to deal with the blockers, maybe some of them at the end.
Yeah, because it'd be good to have a list of blockers too, so we can triage them, like what I was saying. So we can go, well, here's the first blocker we need to hammer out.
Yeah.
Like if you're
Yeah,
having
I
a
tried-
blocker where they can't change their background on their profile picture, like that's not nearly as important as some other stuff,
Right.
like the game not loading or something. So yeah, so we'll do it that way. Plus, if you guys can just list all the blockers, that gives me something to look at while like Frank is talking and stuff. I can start working on that stuff, you know?
Yeah, and I took them in our notes spreadsheet, and broke it into like for each person update and blockers.
Yeah.
So that you all can tell me now or later if that's a useful way to document it, but
Yep.
I guess
I think that's a good one. Or you can make it
Yeah.
its own task too in Jira, right? Like you can update your task on Jira that it's like blocked, or put it in backlog. Like if you're nearing the end of a sprint and you haven't cleared a blocker, you can backlog that one item for the next sprint, right?
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, I was wondering even if there's like a blocker place to name blockers for tasks in Jira. I guess you can have like create your own fields. Doesn't look like there's a blocker.
yeah. And you could also just say like, I didn't have time to finish this task because I ran into a bunch of complications, because like Agile is flexible, and it's flexible because making software is unpredictable. So something that seems small could be way more time consuming than you think. And you have to be able to like backlog it and work on it next week. You can't just like quit because you didn't get it done in 2 weeks or a week.
Right.
So yeah, I think you guys did very well today. I listened to the majority of it, and you guys were cruising along. So
Yeah, one other quick thought about process. So we said blockers, and the way we talk about blockers was one thing to we can do better. I think. Is it normal that like we got Jira here and that we would have, because everything's in one sprint right now. It's all together, just like a bunch of tasks. It sounds like from what you all said that, maybe more normal to have, like, let's say the first 7 or 10 would be in a sprint, and so we would actually just go, each person would only talk about, and they would like name what task they're talking about and giving blockers on. Is it?
I mean, you could do that. It just depends on the workflow of wherever you're at.
Yeah.
You can kind of structure it however. So yeah, normally you have like an epic, which is your like major thing. Typically, a lot of times, like even an entire app is an epic. Sometimes like the front end and back end are epics, and then some giant apps are broken up into several epics. And then those all have their stories. So yeah, I mean, you can say like I completed these 3 tasks, and if you finished them and they're passing testing and they're ready to be deployed, because the goal, remember, at the end of a sprint is that everything that's committed at the end of a sprint should be deployable,
Mhm.
right? So it can go right out to the deployed branch from
And then
production to deployed. That's like the
actually
CI/CD
changing
pipeline.
these- Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that's the CI/CD pipeline. So like
Ah.
continuous integration, that's what that is. So like you're basically patching your app every week or 2 weeks, whatever your sprints are,
Gotcha.
right?
I guess.
So that
we'll-
code needs to be working. So if it's not working, you need to take it out of that sprint, right? Like it's not done. So put it in the backlog.
Gotcha. And I suppose we have these 3 things we can select, at least selecting when things are done would be good to clear things out. But for the 2-week sprint, are we just gonna have everything in it?
I mean, everything can be in the
Yeah.
backlog, and then you guys can assign tasks. And typically with Agile, if you remember, we do like a numbering system.
Hmm.
My personal thing is that I just kind of like counting in order, and I do like a 1 through 8 basically, and like 5 is kind of like 2 weeks usually, 4 is like 1 week, and then 8 is like it's too big, it needs to be broken down into parts, right? So, but hey guys, I got to run back in. I'm sorry. I'll be back in like 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think this is to your point, Mauricio, this thing of like how stand-ups work and how sprints work and how that part of working together, I think is really interesting to me and feels important. So anyways, hopefully we can keep drilling into what that'll look like. Yeah. Yeah, I think my main question, it seems like we probably will have everything in one sprint. I imagine it might be a little simpler in real life when it's spread out over more time and you can kind of have somewhat more limited things in a sprint.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to leave. I need to get some sleep. I have to go back work in a couple of hours. So I'm gonna leave you.
Sounds good, man. So when are
Go
we
for it,
meeting
Mom.
tonight, Mauricio? At 7?
7, yeah, 7, 7 p.m. tonight.
Okay. Does anyone else want to join? Well, we'll plan on that, Mauricio. You feel free to jump off. I'm sure we're wrapping up. I don't want to keep you longer. You gotta get some sleep, man.
No problem. Have a good one.
Okay.
Bye. Yeah, I'm gonna try and join y'all an hour into that
Cool.
time. So like 8 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, no pressure to. I just, since we're on the phone here, I thought I'd check and see so we know who's in, whatnot.
No problem. Yeah. I'll try and get there today.
Cool. And I think it'll be mostly working on the lobby anyway. So I don't know if you want to join Mackenzie, you can. Maybe we'll get into other stuff too. I don't know, but you might not need to if that's what we're gonna focus on for now.
Yeah, I mean, if I have idle time at 8, yeah, totally.
Yeah, it'll be 5 your time, I guess. But yeah, cool. All right, anything else, you guys?
Am I waiting for Dan or?
I don't know. I did you all say that?
I have no idea if he wants to meet with me today or or not.
Message with him, huh?
Yeah.
That's my suggestion. But yeah, anything else y'all wanted to check on? Oh, did you want Caesar to look at the pull request now? Does that work, or do you have time?
I think you kind of like covered what I was a little confused about. Mostly, I guess like those comments were, what do you call it? Like the discrepancy or the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what created like the merge conflict? I don't believe it was just that, or was that what you're saying now?
Well, so I can show you. So the merge conflict, if you look at resolve conflicts here, it's that I commented out Mauricio's code in app.js that I had moved. So you see here, like I put moved and commented this out that was not commented out, and I commented my part of the use effect out. And then there was maybe a little bit more, the join room thing I commented out. So I guess the way it shows it, maybe you all know, I hadn't looked at a merge conflict before, but it looks like, yeah, it says what the branch is and then what that part of the conflict is, and then what I suppose this marks when it's talking about a new branch, I suppose. So anyways, this was in the existing branch for dev, and I commented out in game lobby PR. And so that's the only conflicts. Let's see. Well, actually, is this one now? Maybe I did miss one. Game lobby route exact element. Saying this is a conflict, I guess. Yeah, this is because I had to add all these props in here. So it's the same route. It's just, you remember you helped me catch that. I just added all of the other props in as well.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, I
And
think I
then
see.
It's just a random comment down here I added about some stuff I moved. So those
Gotcha.
are the conflicts. So I don't think, I mean, yeah, I suppose you can let me know now or later if you think we should leave some in until we're sure mine are working, but because they're just commented out, it's not like I deleted them.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was like considering or thinking about. I guess my blocker there, but I think, yeah, I think if we like uncomment your comment, then we'll be able to push it into dev, because I think like we still need some of those for other components. And if we like leave them out now and push it to dev, I don't know. I guess I'm just having trouble like picturing which way is better.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess I'm not sure if it'll stop mine from working if I don't comment it out. I think that was some of what I was torn about. I guess it might be easier to actually look at in here. But so maybe we could just take a quick example. So like this one, you said move to game lobby inside of a use effect. So I did that, but socket.on players. So that is receiving information on the players, and that's using the data about how many players to do the set players use state. And so I guess the question with each of these would be, does let's, with this one, is set players used anywhere else in other components would be like an example question, right?
Right, yeah, like if I push that up to dev the way it is, then when we make our branch the next time for whatever next component we're gonna be working on, any of us, it's gonna be, it'll be like, I guess missing. So I think I'm just like thinking out loud some more again.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, I
helpful.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, I just was kind of confused, like whether I should like push it that way, comment it, or uncomment that part just in app and push it that way, so it's still like accessible to everyone else for the future branches.
Right.
Um,
I mean, because how would it be accessible, I guess, is maybe some of the question is because like I may not have done it right, but I created a use effect in here. And just to take that example, I put it in here. So I guess the alternative way, if someone else needed it, they could do what I did here, but otherwise we would have to leave this as the code and somehow I would have to access it and others would have to access it. A different way in here. I don't know.
I think. I think we can just maybe like uncomment it and in app.js, and I think it'll still work for like what I'm thinking of, and it'll still work on your end. We could try it out, Brendan, after this meeting if you want.
Yeah, do you want to just stay on for a minute? Is that what you mean? Or me check in at a later time?
I have a few minutes after this meeting, but I kind of do have to get going soon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I could do is we could just anyone who wants to get off can get off. We could probably stop recording, I suppose, but and I could just uncomment it all real quick while we're on Zoom and try to see if it works the same way. I guess part of the problem is that it's not fully working, so it's a sort of maybe hard to fully test, but
Hey, I just wanted to ask, simply, order of operations is, pull, add, commit, push.
pull, add, commit, push. Yeah, it seems, I mean, I guess there's like the branch question, which branch you're in and what you're changing.
Yeah, that's what's confusing about this whole thing is, yeah, my brain hurts whenever I think about having to do that.
Yeah, I did have a similar question actually, Mackenzie, of like, so I'm gonna work on game lobby some more today. Maybe Caesar, you could speak to this and we could also circle back. But yeah, should I switch to dev, pull from dev, and then switch back to my branch? And it'll have the updated information from dev, and I'll be working on that in my branch. Is that?
So when you create your branch, you should, so before creating your branch,
Pull
you
from
should
dev.
pull from dev, yeah, just to make
Yeah.
sure you have the latest code in dev, create your
Mhm.
branch. From there, kind of answer like Mackenzie's question, I think the proper way to do that is to make your changes, commit your code, and then I don't believe you have to pull anything down from there. I think you could just push it up and create your PR.
Well, I
And then
guess,
if there are any conflicts,
yeah.
Like,
So
how do we know if we're in dev?
it's got
on
get
the
branch
bottom left of your screen, it'll say the branch name, or just do get branch and it'll tell you which one you're in.
right here.
Oh, that means we're in dev.
It'll say dev right there if you're in dev.
You see my screen here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever it says right here, that's what branch you're in.
Okay, so let's say I'm working on game lobby page, whatever.
Well, sorry, 1 second, Mackenzie. I wonder if, do you have a few extra minutes? Because I know Caesar was short on time and we were gonna
Okay.
test something briefly with these comments. And then I could stay on with you, Mackenzie, and we could, if you think it's something that I might be able to help with, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you know more than me.
Well, we could try that, and if we need to ask for more help, we can. Is it okay if we just finalize things with this while Caesar's on first?
All good.
Yeah, so you're suggesting I just, because now I'm in here. Right now, it was working, Caesar, where it was. I think it was actually setting the rooms right. With the number of players and stuff. I think. Well, and I can't. Thing is, I don't have this set up. This is just the old thing. But what it was doing. Well, before it did have it set up where it was showing hint, need a hint before I created a room, but now for some reason it's not. So I don't know, maybe I'll just comment it all back in, Caesar, and if things aren't working, or we can figure it out eventually.
I think it's all right if you leave it like that for now, to be honest. I think this is maybe something that I either just need a little bit of time to try it out. Or just something that like maybe Dan or Frank can answer really quickly once they're available.
Yeah, sounds good, and I can check in also. We can check in with Mauricio when we meet tonight. Yeah. I think I'm good to do that. I think it would, maybe my last thought is just that if there's a way that we can somehow access these things as, like, could I not have accessed join room as a, or maybe I should have just accessed join room as a prop opposed to doing the code again in here. You have any thoughts on that, Caesar?
Could you repeat that, please? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And maybe this could be a last question. Oh shit, Dan's dog is being put to sleep. Oh man.
Yeah, I know. It's so sad.
Don't worry about us. Yeah, do whatever you need to, Dan. It sucks, man. I'm sorry I've had to do that. Yeah, feel free to, I hope he's cool to know that he can take off and we're good here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good, Dan. If you feel, that's a lot to deal with, man. Feel free to take off. I think we're glad to get in touch if we need to. Through Slack. I don't know if you can hear us or not, but. Anyways, I'll just make this very last question, Caesar, because I know you gotta go. Oh, did he put in a thanks? I'll keep recording, but I'll be MIA for a bit. Okay. I think we're about to get off soon, but sounds good, Dan. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I was just asking Caesar, so like for join room in app.js, I don't know if you can, if you're still looking at the screen or not, but this basic function here for join room. You see that, Caesar?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Like maybe instead of having used that same code over here, I should have just accessed it as a prop and pulled it over like that.
That could be a way to do it.
I mean,
That would be a way
maybe
to
I
go
would
to,
have.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, nothing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I have in it that's not in here is the navigate room piece. So when the buttons click, they also navigate to that room. So maybe I can try to look at that too. I'm trying to think. I basically would just need, if I pulled it as a prop, then I suppose I could just down here with the join room button, it's just accessed as a prop. Yeah, maybe I'll mess around with that some. I suppose I could just move this back over here then, like that, and just access it as a prop, huh? Because we had move to, we used kind of move when we were kind of taking our notes, and so I think I just assumed I was just moving all the code, but I can try to look at, I don't think I can do that with all of it. Like for the use effect, I'm not sure if that will work, but I can try to look at that some, and we can talk about tonight too.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about this more later. I'm not very present minded at the moment because I got to get running real
No
soon,
worries,
but
man. You're good. I know you got family, I think you said, so it's cool, dude. We're good. Appreciate it.
yeah, sorry, but yeah, I'm gonna send Dan a message now before I head out, and then I'll loop you back in, Brendan. I am having a hard time answering that question because I'm not sure right now if that function is only being used in game lobby. And if it is, then it makes sense to just keep it in game lobby, but
Yeah, well, maybe we can feel it out later and see if things are working or not. I'll move over what seems clear to be able to move over, and then we can check in about other things and feel it out as we go. So,
okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'll be
cool, man. Yeah, thanks
I'll
for
be on later
hanging out.
today.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, hope all's goes well with your family, man. Catch you later tonight.
Cool, yeah, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Did you want
All
to?
right,
Yeah. Yo, good.
yeah, I was just gonna say, have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys later.
I
I gotta get going.
later.
All right, bye.
But
Um Mackenzie, did you want to, we could check in about what you were bringing up?
Yeah, I just wanted to know these simple questions, man. These
I don't-
coding is beginning to kill me. I'm second guessing myself at this point is if I should just stay in like my job or actually, do coding. But then I asked myself, well, I made it this far. So like, yeah, my head doesn't wrap around coding or the logic.
Yeah, I hear that, man.
Like, and the thing too is I don't want
In
to,
the chat,
I'm sorry,
look at the chat.
look at the chat. Oh, that's funny. Dude, like a lot of times when I'm thinking about all this stuff in practicum, I feel like, dude, I don't want to, I like having to think about all this is like taking a hammer and bashing my knuckles. And like, I don't want to kill myself having to think about all this stuff. Like, there must be an easier way to learn this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it seems like the whole world of learning coding is constantly adapting, like stuff like Treehouse and all those videos, like, that's a newer, I imagine the last several years, few years, couple of years or something. So in that sense, I get you that seems like better
Yeah,
and
I
better
just don't
ways to learn
understand the
it.
vocabulary. It's like the for lack of a better word, vocabulary or I don't know, the words of the conversation, it just like it kills me.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I definitely wrestle with it too. I think it seems like pushing through the practicum and keeping reflecting on what you feel most drawn to might be, useful. Because it seemed like I don't know, I remember we were talking about like the front end and like design stuff, and since you draw, like, and wondering if I feel like we were talked at some point about, maybe that's something that you feel more drawn to.
Or you mean like user experience or I don't know, rather than development.
Or yeah, maybe just somewhat more front end focused. And maybe diving deeper in CSS is like what would feel better. And because one thing that'll be interesting with this is that we left it open as to whether or not we try to use just like regular CSS without any like libraries for this project, the game, or if we're gonna pull some libraries. I've never messed with libraries that I guess make it, so there's like prepackaged stuff we can install and use for like the way buttons look or etc. Like that might be interesting to test out through this practicum,
Yeah, but that's
I
going to
don't
be the
know,
very
man.
last thing.
Well, yeah, but it's there may also be a chance to start that before too long, since I mean the overall project doesn't have too much longer. But that might be worth like I know you and Dan were gonna meet up. Maybe I could talk some about like when could some CSS work start and like possibly experimenting with some libraries, like if it sounded interesting. But I feel you,
Wait.
man, on a whole. I mean, it's like some days I feel like I'm moving along and feel a bit of a groove, and sometimes I feel like what the hell am I doing? I mean, I guess that whole imposter syndrome that people talk about feels pretty real to me.
Like, you know what? Like, I hadn't, like, even though I used state, I've heard the word, I've seen the word, I've done it in the assignments, but I still have no idea what it is. You know what I mean? And then like Caesar comes along and he kind of made some of that easy to understand, but like I don't know how to explain it back. It made sense when he said, Anyway, yeah, so I just, like, I did changes to my profile page, and it's like I figured, okay, well, I'm not gonna do anything as far as pull, add, commit, because I have no idea where this is going and I don't want to screw it up. So I'm just making changes, and I'm not, I guess, vocabulary wise, if it's the correct, pushing it.
Yeah, no, that's the right term. It seems you're like committing it, but not pushing it.
I'm not doing nothing. I'm just, all I'm doing is control save
Well, what branch are you working on?
profile page.
Yeah, well, that seems reasonable. It's good you're not on like dev, you know? And then you
So
could
in the,
always,
so in the
you
chat, I posted order of operations. I don't know if that's right. So if I'm working on profile page, like, let's say I'm done making all these changes, do I got to go down in my terminal and do git pull first before I start making changes, or
well, if
do I?
no one else is working on profile, I mean, it's probably good. Yeah, if no one else is working on profile page, you don't need to pull it down before you keep changing, is my understanding. But yeah, there may be a more technical approach that's different than that, but I think you can keep doing it. The thing that Caesar showed me that I think is really useful, or I just saw him doing, was making lots of commits. Because then if you are there playing around and working on something, and every time you do something meaningful, do an add and a commit, and then you can, if you realize 5 of the things you did work, but the 6th one of them that you, or like, yeah, 4 of 5 commits that you made work, and one of them doesn't, then you can more easily pick out the one that doesn't and take it out, you know?
So you're saying that every time I commit, I always have to add first.
Yeah, you always have to add before you commit.
So basically, with what we're doing, whether it's profile page or game lobby, you're doing git add dot, correct?
Well, I don't use the extension right now that Dan showed us. I think you could use that. A third option other than the terminal is just using this source control.
Hmm.
It makes it really easy to just click the add button.
First.
No, after you make the changes, then you're saying you do like your git status, like I can show you with mine. You know, so if I do git status, whoops, I can't see the screen because of Zoom. Did I type it right? Yeah, git status. So it's saying changes not staged for commit, right? So I can go up here and I can click, yeah, all right, let's stage the changes, which is just
Git
adding
add
the
basically.
changes
Oh, okay. So do the plus first
after you make the changes.
after I make the changes,
it-
then do.
Because if you haven't made
plus.
any changes, you'll look over here and it won't show any changes. You see, because this is labeled changes.
Mhm,
And so if you haven't made any changes there and you see the number 2 here,
mhm,
you see 2 pending changes.
mhm.
And so there won't be any numbers on this. And when you click on it, it won't show anything if you haven't made any changes. So you can't add anything.
So if I
until you've
understand
made-
correctly, you were able to undo those changes just on that.
Yeah, you see, I do.
Oh, no way.
And
That's
then
a
you
trip.
subtract. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you had to subtract, it still says 2 on the side.
Yeah, because there's still changes that could be made. But if I do add, and then I can type my commit message up here.
Uh-huh.
Blah, blah, blah. But
And
once
then-
you commit it, I think you have to, it's a little, you know, you can't use the interface in quite as simple of a way to take away a commit. I think
Okay.
there might be like a,
Can you do me a favor and undo the commit, I mean, the stage, just so I can ask you one more question?
Yeah.
All right, so now you're here, okay? Can you hover over changes? if I hit that plus button on change, that means it adds both app.js and game lobby.
Yeah, you see
Right.
stage all changes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
which
But
is
if I decide not to do that and do them individually. Can you press that plus, please? Oh, I see. Oh, and then if you hover over game lobby, it would give me the, oh, I see. Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's nice to do that because then now I can like if I make, and actually another useful thing if you haven't seen it is I can click on app.js. Because
Uh-huh.
if I'm like, okay, I need to write a commit message, but I can't remember what I did, I click on it and I can see, oh, you see it's comparing the old one on the left, the new one on the right, and you see the plus there and the green,
Uh-huh.
and this mark shows what was, that there was nothing there before. And if I keep going down, it'll show me what else I changed.
Oh, I see. So green is the new addition, and then pink means,
That
like,
was something that was changed.
but
Um,
the gray side means you added it.
Yeah, you mean this
No, the gray on the right-hand column.
here?
No, on the other side of the going down to the gray bar, 39 to 42. So that
Oh,
gray.
that's actually green.
Oh, it's green.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It might not be coming through quite well, but yeah, all these things that are highlighted over here have been changed. And you compare them to this side over here, because as you scroll, both sides scroll in line with each other.
Oh, okay, so you made changes to the, I guess what I'd call the gray parts, but the green above it is what you just added brand new.
Yeah, because you see there's just a
Oh,
gap,
I
blank,
see.
a blank
Okay.
gap with these lines. So that's
Yeah.
something new, that's right. And so then I can click on, I can say, okay, these are the changes I made, and then I can sum them up in the message. But what maybe I should have done is like I added this whole new variable here. Like maybe I should have, I could have just committed that with the message add, navigate variable and then committed it. But it's whatever, that's an evolving thing. I could simply say add a new variable and remove an uncommented some of the code or something. Probably be a
Okay.
reasonable message, and then I hit commit. And then actually once it's committed, you can either go down here and do git push, and you have to
Oh,
say origin
where-
and where you want it pushed to, or you can actually go up here and do push.
Oh, so after I do the plus sign and put my message and then commit the button, I go to the 3 dots and just hit push.
That's right.
Oh,
I mean, it's still good to know
okay.
the terminal language, and I
Sure.
sometimes go back to that.
So if
But
you're on
you-
terminal launch, it would be git push origin
Game lobby
app.js or game lobby
Yes.
dot JS.
Yeah, the branch you're on.
Let's see. Okay, so that's what I was tripping on. All right. The one of the things I'm tripping on. And okay, hooks. All right.
So I use this for some things. I think you can do pull and things. I don't do that. I mainly just use this for commits, the messages and push, but you
Gotcha.
can use
All
it
right.
for various stuff. I think it's, if there's things you think you might do wrong, you might do those in terminal because it slows you down and it makes you do a little bit of extra work to clarify exactly what you're doing. So like with git pull, for example, I think I would be worried that I'd pull the wrong thing. So even though all I have to type is git pull here, it at least in my head, it's generally been coming to mind that, oh, I got to make sure I'm in the right branch before I pull.
You gotta make sure you're in the right. Oh, so if you decide to go to profile page from game lobby, you would have to
Mhm.
do git pull origin. Profile page.
Well, yeah, I guess you could do that. What makes more sense to me is I just change git checkout
Oh, get check
profile page, and then I'm in there and all I have to do is git pull. I don't have to do the extra origin language.
So if you're from Game Lobby, if you're going to go to profile page, you go get checkout profile page.
Yeah, whatever
And then,
your name is of the branch.
and then after that, you do and then when you're in that right branch, then you do get pull.
Exactly.
Oh, what a trip. I was beginning to think of all these Git languages like a drawer. It's like you gotta pull it out first, stuff things in it, commit it, and then push the drawer back in. I mean, that's just how my head was working.
That's a good way to think about it. I like
Yeah.
that.
So anyway, that actually helped a lot. So no matter what, if I'm on my working branch, and I'm ready done and I made my changes, I go to the left column and push plus, and then my message in commit, and then I can hit the 3 buttons.
Well,
And
then
just-
you add it, you put your
Yeah,
message,
add
and
it,
then you
put
click
my
commit.
commit, and then I go to my 3 dots and then push.
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
I mean,
All right.
it feels like a lot of people do this different ways. I'm just saying what works for me. Yeah, I think when people are like, Dan, have more and more experience, they can use the extension like he uses perhaps, and not worry that you're gonna screw something up. For me, I'm a little more nervous still because I'm not as accustomed to all of it. And so to me, this source control is kind of like in between automating everything and automating nothing. It like automates some things. And so I'm a little more comfortable with that. I didn't even know about it till a couple of months ago. A friend of mine, I was helping me with some stuff and I was typing it all out here. He was like, you can just go over here. And I didn't know that at all.
That's cool. I mean, right on. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much, I guess that's it for now. That was my question with Caesar.
Oh,
But he
Dan,
didn't answer me. I don't know if he's getting irate